Practical Vedanta, Part 4, delivered in London, 18th November 1896, Text 1. We have been dealing more with the universal so far. This morning I shall try to place before you the Vedantic ideas of the relation of the particular to the universal. As we have seen in the dualist form of Vedic doctrines, the earlier forms, there was a clearly defined particular and limited soul for every being. There have been a great many theories about this particular soul in every individual, but the main discussions was between the ancient Vedantists and the ancient Buddhists, the former believing in the individual soul as complete in itself, and the latter denying in toto the existence of such an individual soul. As I told you the other day, it is pretty much the same discussion you have in Europe as to substance and quality. One set holding that behind the qualities there is something as substance in which the qualities inhere, and the others denying the existence of such a substance as being unnecessary, for the qualities may live by themselves. The most ancient theory of the soul, of course, is based upon the argument of self-identity. I am I. That the I of yesterday is the I of today, and the I of today will be the I of tomorrow. That in spite of all the changes that are happening to the body, I yet believe that I am the same I. This seems to have been the central argument with those who believed in a limited and yet perfectly complete individual soul. On the other hand, the ancient Buddhists denied the necessity of such an assumption. They brought forward the argument that all that we know and all that we possibly can know are simply these changes. The positing of an unchangeable and unchanging substance is simply superfluous, and even if there were any such unchangeable thing, we could never understand it, nor should we ever be able to cognize it in any sense of the word. The same discussions you will find at the present time going on in Europe between the religionists and the idealists on the one side, and the modern positivists and agnostics on the other. One side believing there is something which does not change, of whom the latest representative is your Herbert Spencer, that we catch a glimpse of something which is unchangeable. And the other is represented by the modern Comtists and modern agnostics. Those of you who were interested a few years ago in the discussions between Herbert Spencer and Frederick Harrison might have noticed that it was the same old difficulty. The one party standing for a substance behind the changeful, and the other party denying the necessity for such an assumption. One party says we cannot conceive of changes without conceiving of something which does not change. The other party brings out the argument that this is superfluous. We can only conceive of something which is changing, and as to the unchanging, we can neither know, feel, or sense it. In India, this great question did not find its solution in very ancient times, because we have seen that the assumption of a substance which is behind the qualities and which is not the qualities can never be sustained. Nay, even the argument from self-identity, from memory, that I am the I of yesterday because I remember it and therefore I have been a continuous something, cannot be substantiated. The other quibble that is generally put forward is a mere delusion of words. For instance, a man may take a long series of such sentences as I do, I go, I dream, I sleep, I move, and here you will find it claimed that the doing, going, dreaming, etc. have been changing. But what remained constant was that I. As such, they conclude that the I is something which is constant and an individual in itself. But all these changes belong to the body. This, though apparently very convincing and clear, is based upon the mere play on words. The I and the doing, going, and dreaming may be separate in black and white, but no one can separate them in his mind. When I eat, I think of myself as eating. I am identified with eating. When I run, I and the running are not two separate things. Thus, the argument from personal identity does not seem to be very strong. The other argument from memory is also weak. If the identity of my being is represented by my memory, many things which I have forgotten are lost from that identity. And we know that people under certain conditions forget their whole past. In many cases of lunacy, a man will think of himself as made of glass or as being an animal. If the existence of that man depends on memory, he has become glass. Which not being the case, we cannot make the identity of the self depend on such a flimsy substance as memory. Thus, we see that the soul, as a limited yet complete and continuing identity, cannot be established as separate from the qualities. We cannot establish a narrowed down limited existence to which is attached a bunch of qualities. On the other hand, the argument of the ancient Buddhists seems to be stronger, that we do not know and cannot know anything that is beyond the bunch of qualities. According to them, the soul consists of a bundle of qualities called sensations and feelings. A mass of such is what is called the soul, and this mass is continuously changing.